I really have a passion for weddings and events, and I really want to make sure my couples, they have that day that they've dreamt about for their entire lives.
Austin and I really love it when a plan comes together. And that's why we're here with planner Jackie, Sincerely Yours Events. Tell me, why are your weddings, your events so much better?
Oh, well, I mean, obviously, because I'm running them, but also I have the experience, the education, and I stay up with all the trends. I really have a passion for weddings and events, and I really want to make sure my couples, they have that day that they've dreamt about for their entire lives.
Yeah, it's amazing. When we know that a planner like yourself is going to be working with them and there's not going to be weird things that are going to cause large problems, we look at a lot of timelines that aren't put together by planners or a coordinator, and it's like, this is not going to work. So we got to start over completely because they've not put enough time for travel or other events, or they just kind of assume like things are going to magically happen. So then we have to be put in that driver's seat, which is not where we want to be. So it's always a great luxury to be able to work with you, or, just to have a planner in general. But what is one of the biggest misconceptions? What do you see most often?
I think there's a huge misconception that people think when they're going to hire a wedding planner, then that wedding planner takes over and does all the planning for them. And really, maybe 2% of my couples want me to do that. A lot of couples say, Jackie, I have this idea, I have this theme, this vision, these colors. I just need help finding a way to bring it together. So I'm taking their vision and making it reality. I don't take over their wedding. Another misconception is people come to me and they're like, well, I've already done everything. What do you do? Well, now it's my job to make sure you enjoy your wedding day. You get to be bride and groom and family members and bridesmaids. You shouldn't have to be setting up your centerpieces. You shouldn't be taking down stuff at the end of the night. You're not wrangling drunk people after they enjoyed the open bar. That's my job now.
Very good point. We have a lot where they may not have a planner or coordinator or somebody on site the day of. And I say, if I'm looking through the timeline and I'm, walking through how the day is going to go, I will ask them, you need somebody who is not you, and it's probably not your mother, and probably somebody who's not even in the wedding, who is a trusted point of contact if we're going to get these things done, because you have a lot you're going to be doing. Everyone's going to want your attention. They're going to want to see you. You're going to want to have a good day, a relaxing time. So if you don't have a coordinator, you're going to have to find this other person who's not a professional, and you just don't know how that's going to go. And that's why you need a professional coordinator. And you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
Through all that time, tell us kind of what's a crazy story? What are some things that have come up that you've witnessed, that you've had to solve and kind of put back together?
The one I can think of right off the top of my head, we were talking about the open bars and some people enjoying them a little much. I've had groomsmen actually empty out a centerpiece and then try to bring it to the bar to fill up with beer. That was an interesting, talking him down, having the bartender cut him off, but in a way that didn't cause a distraction from everyone. I've had tent companies where they were not on my referral list. They're no longer even a vendor anymore, if that tells you anything. And they just did not show up and do what they needed to. So I was calling 10 different vendors and just frantically trying to get a tent company to come out and put up the tents outside for rehearsal dinner and wedding. And we were going to have a monsoon come, so I needed a tent. But I've also had some really great stories. I love surprises for my couples, for my guests. We had a bride and groom who they found out they were pregnant. And so for their cake cutting, they actually did an announcement and a gender reveal in one.
Wow.
So I'm all about saving the day where I need to, but also surprising people and in making this event unique to that couple.
That's really joyful. And those little things that you're able to kind of put together to make their day extra special. We often say there's kind of the same 10 or 12 things that happen at every wedding, and for good reason.
Right.
But still, that day is so unique and there's so many moving parts. And to have somebody like you who has seen it all, has solved all the problems basically that there can be, for the most part, your couples never even know about it because you're one step ahead.
Always. And that, it kind of goes back to, you talk about the timeline. We're always kind of we have our plan A, and then we have B and C and, D, and go from there. And I have this giant emergency kit that has way too many things in it now. Just from every event that I've done, I've experienced something different that I'm like, oh, I need to have this. I need to have a rubber mallet now in case the dance floor breaks. I need to have a plunger in case a toilet overflows. But the things that I have in there, my husband and my team members make fun of me, but I've used every one of them.
What are some things you're seeing now that maybe you didn't see a couple years ago, and maybe are they here to stay, or I don't know, what are your opinions on that?
So I really enjoy the DJ photographer game that you guys do a lot. It's a good way for my couples to quickly see everyone at the reception, get photos with each table. Basically, the tables get to run up to the bride and groom, do these really great silly photos. They get to go hi, bye, and then quickly get through this one song. And it's so much fun. It helps start the party. So I always recommend it after like dinner, and then we get right into the reception. I also like, instead of doing a bouquet toss, I did one recently where it was kind of like a maypole. And so the bride had the bouquet with all these ribbons, and as the girls were dancing around, she just would cut ribbons. And whoever was last at the last ribbon got to keep the bouquet. So that was fun too. I've also seen a football toss for the garter if you're a big football fan. There's just ways to take some of those formalities and make them their own and not so cheesy anymore.
That's a good point. Just kind of put their own spin so they can have a great day. Tell me a little bit more. What is some advice that you end up giving to every bride and groom, or just something they need to think about?
Before we start any wedding planning, especially if they come to me sooner, I tell them, your guests will remember the food, the booze, and the music. But I want to know what 3 things are important to them, because while food, booze, and music is great for the guests, they're going to care about photos and video. They're going to care about how they look. They might care about the color theme. So we talk about all those things together, and then I need to know a budget. A budget is so important to execute your day. So then this way I know, well, you might not care about this one design aspect, so we don't need to put a lot of money here, but you want to put all the money in a good photographer, or videographer, or a good DJ. We know where we could shuffle money around.
Wow, great point. Yep. Starting right from the beginning so that you kind of don't get your priorities mixed up there. Well, awesome. Thank you, Jackie. I really appreciate you being on the show with us. Where can they find you?
You can find me on social media, SY Weddings on Instagram, Sincerely Yours on Facebook, and sy.weddings on TikTok, or syweddings.com.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.